I've never been a huge fan of the Kennedys. I've never really been, one way or the other. Anybody who even suggests to me that they're part of some kind of royalty is, to me, that is so antithetical to everything that I believe in. That goes without saying. But it goes something like this. The idea that these folks have this thing called profiles in courage, when he's shown more courage, more indefatigable, inexplicable courage than anyone, by virtue of going up against Big Pharma, the CDC, and this vaccine tyranny, is to me evidence of something which is so good and so wonderful. And I respect him so very much for having done that. And yet they have this nonsense called, profiles in courage. There's no profiles in courage. What are you talking about? There is no profiles in courage. He stands up for what you believe in. But because these folks are sellouts. Because here is the thing. I am not saying that vaccines aren't good. There are some people who are against, theoretically, epidemiology, immunology. I don't want to go back to polio and smallpox, and even I'm not suggesting this. And I'm not suggesting anything above and beyond that. I'm not talking about depopulation. I'm not talking about Bill Gates and nanotech. I'm not talking about that. I don't know how to make it any clearer to people. I'm not talking about that. But you know and I know that the amount of absolute distortion that has been seen and that been provided against us is without peer. And Bobby Kennedy had the unmitigated audacity and the balls and the huevos and the coglione and the backbone and the temerity and this I guess puissance, if that makes any sense. The courage and the conviction. Now remember, he's a lefty and all that. I don't care. After 4 years of Biden, I have looked now at, I want a president who's competent. Look at Dianne Feinstein. She poor thing. They say she's just gone. John Fetterman gone. Biden gone. I want people who are with it. I want people who are actually cognizant, who are aware of where they are. Isn't that something? That's what I want. That's my dream. Now, that's all I want, is somebody who was just with it. Imagine that we live in this particular world where that is so critical to me, that means something. Imagine how demented we must be, where we actually are looking towards somebody who is not demented, who was not out of their minds, who was not devoid of mentation. Dear God, what happened to us? Seriously, what really happened to us? Does this make any sense to you? Does any of this make any sense to you? It's incredible, is it not? To think that we have, and again, I go back to the original irony, profiles in courage, except for you, Bobby. Now, you know and I know that we need to get to the bottom of everything. I want to get to the bottom of geoengineering. I want to get to the bottom of 9/11. I want to get to the bottom of Vietnam and Watergate and the banking system and the Federal Reserve and everything, every single thing I want to get to the bottom of. And I'm not going to ask permission from anybody. We live in a world right now where people have to ask permission. This insanity about being afraid of this. Now, he has done more. Bobby Kennedy Jr., to at least make people aware of this necessity of looking at perhaps a link, a causal link between skyrocketing pandemic levels of autism and spectrum disorders and immunization profiles. Now, if you think that is not warranted, if you think that's somehow no good, if you have a problem with that, you're not paying attention. And when it comes to our children, what happens is we we forget that it's about children. And we get to these people who become part of the vaccine religion, because in our country, vaccines and COVID is a religion. Vaccine is the sacrament. The mask, the face diaper is the vestment. The CDC is the Vatican. There are people who got into this, and they love to say, stay home, save a life. Yeah, virtue signaling on steroids. Now again, I am an observationist. I am a realist. I look at how people react. I look at how people respond. I look at how people act and think, and how this lunacy that I've seen completely replace a cogent and adult and rational discussion as to the potency, the efficacy, the safety of vaccines, boosters, and the like. Now, if you've got a problem with that, if I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I've never been an anti-vaxxer, I've never, I don't even get to that. I don't even get to that. When we were talking about legalization of drugs years ago, I wasn't even advocating the use of drugs. I was talking about trying to readdress using this ancient modality of the criminal justice system as a means, as a version, as a vector of going after this particular thing. I got to tell you something. I mean this with all my heart. I'm not who you think I am. I am not who you think I am. I'm able to ask a particular question in a series of questions and not necessarily deny the existence of the event. I want to know still, how was it that we in this country said to those 9/11 first responders, it's safe, go in, you have nothing to worry about. And yet here I am in New York, and I'm being deluged with a litany, a series of advertising that says, have you been injured? Were you in Manhattan during COVID? Did you suffer? Did you believe them when they told you there was nothing to worry about? Did you, that kind of thing? This is where we are. This is where we are today. It's like, my God. What? So that's a question about 9/11. I'm not a truther. How did that happen? There's so many questions. You don't know the questions I know of just basically simple things that have to do with the presentation of the event as it occurred. So going back to the initial premise of this, and I say this right now, and I say this to you, and I say it with unmitigated, absolute, and unapologetic verity and veracity. Not verisimilitude, but veracity and verity. Bobby Kennedy has earned my respect for having guts. And we live in a world right now where nobody has any guts. That's simple. Now, my dear friends, I ask you a very simple thing. I want you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little notification for new videos and the like, and comment as you see fit.